Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Amon Green, Green Bay Packers all-time leader in rushing, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Join alongside Tim in Green Bay to talk Packers tonight. We got a bunch of stuff to cover. Got a loaded show for you guys and gals. We're going to talk trade rumors through the eyes of Bleacher Report, who put together a top 10 list of players potentially on the trade block. And we'll talk about why they're on the trade block as well. We'll rapid fire through that, see if any of those names grab your attention as a Packer fan, someone you might want on the team. We'll also talk Jordan Love and Micah Parsons leading this awesome young Packers team. They absolutely balled out. Obviously, Jordan Love winning an award this week. Micah Parsons also getting a Player of the Month. We'll talk about all that. And we'll dive into the latest on the injury report for Packers-Panthers and then give you guys a quick PFF preview on Packers-Panthers. We'll start to talk about how their lineup matches up against ours, both on offense and defense. Before we do that, though, if you guys would do that YouTube stuff for me, hit like, hit subscribe. If this is your first time tuning into PTA, welcome. Thank you for making us part of your evening. We're not experts. We're not insiders. We're not media members. We're fans just like you talking Packers on the daily. So if that's the type of content you're looking for, make sure you click subscribe, click that bell icon so you're notified every time we go live. Like earlier this afternoon, we did a quick show. It's supposed to be quick. It went 40 minutes just talking about Caleb Williams, Ben Johnson, and that whole situation in Chicago. It just seems like that thing could go south really, really quick. So if you guys want to check that video out, just click on the page here. You'll see it. It was listed earlier as a live stream, and we got it logged as a video as well to make things a little bit easier. So, all right, Tim, how are you, man? Before we jump into it, you have a good day, man?
Great day, man. I heard the pod. I didn't get home in time to jump on with you this afternoon, but always a treat to talk about the dumpster fire that is the Chicago Bears. Love it.
There's a lot of stuff that went under the radar that I missed, man. I didn't realize that that basically Ben Johnson said the ball should have went to a different place on the interception. Obviously, they were trailing by 3 in the fourth quarter, 9 minutes left, and then of course Caleb Williams came out in his presser and said, "Nah, I think I made the right read. I just could have threw a better ball." And it's like, no, you didn't.
Get ready to go.
Yeah, exactly. You had a guy wide open in the flat on the second 10, and you stared down your number one read like you always do and threw it to the opposite team. That's what happened there, Bob. So really, really interesting to see how that plays out. Because, Tim, they were hot a few weeks ago, and, man, this thing could turn south quick, obviously losing to the Ravens last week. But we'll see how it shakes out. Again, this ain't a Bears podcast, but we do like to keep our finger on the pulse of the division rivals and just talk about what's going on in those areas as well. So let's get into some trade rumors, Tim. You ready for this?
Do it.
All right. So Bleacher Report put an article out earlier today, and essentially what they said was, hey, here's the top 10 big board for potential players that might potentially be traded. So we're just going to go kind of rapid fire. I want to get Tim's take on it. I want to get the chat's take on it as well in terms of whether or not you would trade for these players or not. We got something going on. We're going to have to take the skeleton down. I think it's throwing everything out there, Tim. But we'll see what you guys think in the chat. Would you trade for these players or not? Okay, definitely want to know how everybody feels about this. Let's start here, though. I wonder why that's dropping. That keeps dropping out on us, Tim. You notice that?
Yeah, what's going on?
Well, StreamYard added a bunch of Halloween stuff in, so I'm assuming it's just going to screw up our broadcast completely. You know how that goes. I wonder if there's maybe there's a setting now that they changed to where that thing drops down after a few seconds, maybe. So perfect drop, by the way. Let me just take a quick gander here through the layouts. Actually, it's staying up this time. I don't know if you push something, Tim. They may have changed something where when you go to add an image or something, maybe it pulls it down. So we'll play with it later. That's what she said. Anyway, so big board breakdown here, trade block. All right. Jacoby Myers, they had him listed number 1. And again, this isn't how I would rank them. This is how Bleacher Report had them ranked. Okay. And we just did kind of a quick little summarization of that article. So Jacoby Myers, wide receiver from the Las Vegas Raiders, projected trade value is a conditional 2026 fourth round pick. Key points: impending 2026 free agent, who requested a trade in the offseason and is unlikely to return. Raiders added Tyler Lockett as a succession plan. Multiple teams interested, but Vegas seeks at least a day 2 pick, top receiver likely available at a team-friendly price amid league-wide receiver injuries. The potential suitors, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Something is definitely off on this. This is going to drive me crazy tonight. There it went again. Did you push anything just now, Tim?
Negative.
Wonderful. So I apologize, guys. I may just have to read it, to be honest with you. And then without the visualization, I'd like to give you guys everything I can see on the screen. But nonetheless, Jacoby Myers, Pittsburgh Steelers, Tampa Bay Buccaneers are the ones that seem to be in pursuit of someone like a Jacoby Myers. Tim, I don't know how you feel. This is a no for me. I think our receiver room is set. I like where we're at. If anything, I wish the trade rumors would stop circulating about potentially trading Wicks or Dobbs, right? So I definitely don't think we need another receiver, right?
Yeah, I would agree 100%. We don't have to spend too much time on that. And that's not a diss on Jacoby Myers, but I mean, I can think of 5 or 6 receivers on this roster right now that I'm good with. So I think that's a hard pass for the Pack right now.
Yeah, definitely. All right, moving along. Next player on this list is Jalen Phillips, edge defender from the Miami Dolphins. We'll throw up there real quick. Projected trade value is a 2026 4th-round pick. Key points, he's 26 years old and pending 2026 free agent with high upside after injury-impacted 23 and 24 seasons. Dolphins unlikely to make postseason and may face front office changes. Holds more trade value than teammate Bradley Chubb. Potential suitors are the Dallas Cowboys and the San Francisco 49ers. Obviously, we just traded for Micah Parsons. I don't see Jalen Phillips being a player that I would be interested in. Now, any player for the right price, obviously, but the thought of giving up a 4th-round pick for a player you're probably not going to re-sign next year because you're looking at potentially getting the OV in a contract as well, I think that would be a no for me on that one as well, Tim.
Yep, co-signing that one too. Hard pass. We're good.
Definitely. All right, moving along. Next on their list, number 3, Breece Hall, running back, New York Jets. The potential trade value, once again, a conditional 2026 4th-round pick. He's a 24-year-old who has topped 1,000 yards twice. I'm going to try to remove it and bring it right back up. Let's see if that maybe fixes it. That might be an easy fix. He's topped 1,000 yards twice with 759 yards in 2025. Jets' new regime does not view him as a long-term fit. Moving him now maximizes return amid league backfield injuries. Acquiring team must offer a long-term deal, so it's going to be one of those type of things. Arizona Cardinals, New Orleans Saints seem to be linked to him a little bit. You look at our running back room, Breece Hall is a hell of a running back, Tim. I mean, when you look at the PFF grades, you see his upside is an 82.4 in 2023, and he's pretty much graded no lower than a 60. His lowest point was a 62 last year, but you see since he came in the league, 69, 82, 62, and 72. So this is a solid running back. However, it's kind of back to what we talked about, right? Josh Jacobs is under contract. You're good there.
One that makes you scratch your head, right? The first one on this list that makes you think, okay, we talked about the, potential at running back with Marshawn Lloyd being a question mark right now. That's what we're looking for right now. We're trying to turn the corner and make a push here. So if you make a move before the deadline, this would be the first player on this list that made me at least want to consider it. Because like I said, I mean, you can't sleep on Breece Hall. He's a beast of a back. But at the end of the day, I think it's still a no. I think I'm still on a hard pass on this one. I feel good about Emmanuel Wilson. I feel good about Josh Jacobs and Chris Brooks for that matter. I feel good about him in the role that he plays. And, I think this running back room can, continue to hold the fort until we get a guy like Marshawn Lloyd back in the fold, because we haven't seen more than a handful of snaps from him at the pro level. And we saw his college tape. We know what Marshawn Lloyd's capable of. So I don't know if you go ahead and trade a future pick just to get a guy in right now. Feel pretty good about where we're at, especially when you factor in the Savion Williams factor. We've got a number of receivers that we can use as running backs in a pinch. I would say no for right now on Breece Hall.
I agree, man. And again, it's not that I'm just hell-bent on keeping a 4th-round pick. I just don't know how valuable he would be to the Packers. And again, if he tries to make it a situation where he may hold out and not show up to the team that he's traded to because he wants a long-term contract. I definitely don't see us in the market for giving a running back a long-term contract when you got Emmanuel Wilson and Josh Jacobs under contract for the foreseeable future. So, all right, next on the list, number 4, Logan Wilson, linebacker from the Cincinnati Bengals. All right, projected trade value is a 2026 sixth-round pick. Key points: defensive captain who requested a trade due to reduced playing time, only 67% of the snaps, and new coordinator favoring younger linebackers, signed through 2027, but the Bengals could have $3.6 million by releasing him in the spring. All right, potential suitors: Indianapolis Colts and the San Francisco 49ers. When you look at the PFF grades here, Tim, not that good, Bub. 54, 61, 74, 62, 72, 54. And again, you're talking about a player that's about to turn 30 years old. That's a hard pass for me, for sure.
Yeah, I'm good on that. We'll pass on that one. We're 4 for 4 here on the hard passes.
I'm telling you. Next, Mark Andrews, tight end, Baltimore Ravens, projected trade value, 2026 fifth-round pick or a defensive starter. That's already a hard pass there, right? Key points: 30-year-old free agent in spring of 2026. Ancillary, is that right? Ancillary target in Ravens offense, but show potential in week 3. Had 6 catches, 91 yards, 2 touchdowns. Ravens' poor defense may prompt offers from playoff contenders, potential suitors, the Seattle Seahawks, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So if you bring in a Mark Andrews, this one's a little bit interesting to me. You talk about giving up a 5th-round pick for a guy who's had success in the past. As you can see here, the PFF grades: 73, 88, 76, 91, 80, 78, 83, and then a 61 this year. I do feel like Mark Andrews would be a significant upgrade over Musgrave. However, there's always that factor of, progress stopper. And this is literally the definition of it right now. I understand there's many people, we see it in the chat all the time, that don't think Musgrave. They're not a Musgrave believer. They don't think he's going to turn out to be a good pro based off what we've seen so far. I can understand that sentiment. But also, if you were to upgrade the tight end room, a key position, obviously, in Matt LaFleur's offense, that would mean either Fitzpatrick or Musgrave is going to come off the field for a significant amount of snaps, right? With that being said, I like what Coach Lynn says here. I'm going to try to put it on the screen, and it disappeared, of course. Musgrave for Andrews and a 7th. Okay, so you would trade Luke Musgrave for our boy Mark Andrews and a 7th-round pick in return. That would at least make sense, right, Tim? There's no longer are you stopping the progress of Musgrave, but obviously you'd be giving up on a player that I think they think pretty highly of. This is one of the first ones where I can go, that kind of makes sense. It does kind of make sense to bring in a veteran tight end, although he is 30 years old. How long are you going to have him? A couple years, right? So it's not all that appealing.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, maximum of 2 to 3 years, maybe, right? Maybe he plays to 33, 34 or something. Although we shouldn't talk too much about 30-plus-year-old tight ends, as we see the big dog Mercedes Lewis signing a practice squad contract with Denver. That news broke earlier today, so it's not unheard of. But if you're talking long term, I would say no, but not a hard pass. Like you said, this is the first one that might actually make sense, if you see this in the cards. But I don't know, man. Something tells me no. Him dropping that money ball last year in the biggest game of the season for Baltimore, it just kind of rubbed me the wrong way, So I don't know. I don't know how much better we get, in the tight end room with him. Obviously, he's a veteran, so you're going to improve a little bit. But like you said, possible progress stopper for, Fitzpatrick or whoever you may potentially draft coming up, in the next year or two. Being down a draft pick and down Musgrave. I know everyone's down on Musgrave, but maybe he's just a late bloomer. Give him some time.
Could be. Yeah. Elijah Gwynn in the chat says he'd be here for the window. That's a good point, right? Next 2-year window for the Super Bowl window for sure. And Drew D says Andrews had some significant injuries too. So I think the consensus is probably be a pass on our boy Mark Andrews there at tight end. Next, you got Tariq Woolen, cornerback out of the Seattle Seahawks. Projected trade value, Tim, a 2026 third-round pick, all right? Impending 2026 free agent who doesn't fit Coach Mike McDonald's scheme, played 92% of the snaps, but Seahawks have sought trades value 44 passes defended, 11 interceptions, exceeds recent comparable deals like Roger McCreary's. The potential suitors are the the Indianapolis Colts and the Philadelphia Eagles. I personally don't see the buzz around this guy. I know a lot of Packer fans were mentioning his name. His PFF grade 69, 67, 67, and 48. If you talk about potentially taking someone like Carrington Valentine off the field, and you're going to have to give up a third-round pick for this guy, I'm just not as big on this one. I don't know how you feel.
Yeah, I'm there with you. You know, I love CV. And is Tariq here? Is he a slot or is he a boundary guy?
He is a boundary guy for sure.
Okay, so then that's worth considering, right, on the surface. But no, I'm with you, man. I don't get the hype. I'll pass on that one.
Packers don't need is another slot corner, right, Tim?
Exactly.
we got two. We're kind of in a pickle right now with those. So moving along, this one was really interesting. You remember this was a guy that had a high draft grade just a couple years ago, actually last year, right? Yeah, last year.
JPJ.
Yeah, Jackson Powers Johnson, offensive lineman, interior offensive line for the Raiders. Projected trade value is a 2026 fourth-round pick and or a veteran cornerback. Key points, 2024 second-round pick, not favored by the Raiders regime. College accolades include the Remington Trophy, started 14 games as a rookie, but benched in Week 7. High upside for teams that value and potential suitors are the Cleveland Browns and the L.A. Rams. Again, he was the former 44th overall selection there, a second-round pick. When you look at the PFF grades, rookie year, 63.9. What is going on with this thing tonight? Lord have mercy. 63.9 is rookie year, 63.7 this year. So it seems like he's kind of stabilizer. You kind of know what you got in that offensive lineman. 6'3", 320, obviously played for Oregon. This one's a little bit appealing because I know we've got obviously Elton Jenkins at center, and you just signed Aaron Banks to that deal, which is essentially a 2-year deal, if I remember correctly, the way it was structured. It may be a 4-year deal on paper, but you can get out of it after 2. So someone like Jackson Powers Johnson does kind of pique my interest a little bit. But at the same time, I mean, who are you going to have to sit if you trade him and you deem him a starter, right? And again, They would be asking for a 4th-round pick. You give up a 4th-round pick, I imagine you plan on this guy starting, right? So, I mean, what would that look like, Tim? Let's assume we are going to trade for him. Okay, let's assume we trade for Jackson Powers Johnson. You then got to make a decision. All right, do we want to start him at center over E and move E back to guard, right? And then that means Elton Jenkins has got to play out of position at right guard rather than left guard because Aaron Banks is settled in at left guard. Does it mean you get Jackson Powers Johnson and put him at right guard? If you do that, Jordan Morgan is finally starting to step into his own. He's been grading out pretty well. So now you stop that progress. You put him on the bench. To me, this one don't make sense either.
Yeah, I would say no for those reasons exactly. Unless, JPJ is a monster center that we were unaware about, does he have these skills that we're not aware of as a center? Because then you could maybe, see some value long-term if we're going to move on from Big E at some point. But right now, I don't think it's worth the 4th rounder. I really don't. I think I'd rather dip in the draft again at this point.
Makes sense. Number 8. Kayvon Thibodeau, edge defender from the New York Giants. Trade value, Tim, a 2026 first-round pick. That knocks us out right there. Right?
We don't have any of those.
He's a former 5th overall selection. They're saying the potential suitors are San Francisco 49ers and Tampa Bay Buccaneers. To me, that would make sense for the 49ers because Bosa out for the year. That would make a whole lot of sense, and then they could potentially lock him up to a long-term deal and have him line up opposite of Bosa, right? So I could see how that would make sense. Tampa trying to put a run together as well. They could probably use that. PFF grade starting in 2022, 72, 58, 69, and 68. So to me, he hasn't performed like a top 5 selection. However, you never know, man. A change of scenery could trigger it. I don't think it's going to be something to be going for. So, All right. This is the one that gets my attention big time. Quinnen Williams, defensive lineman, New York Jets. Guys, this is one of the best defensive tackles in the game. And when you're talking about a guy that's 6'3", 303, if you were to get him and pair him up with Devontae Wyatt in the middle, that's really exciting to me. Okay, this is a guy that if you go and trade for him and he's about to turn 28 years old, get him under contract for 3 years, get out of it after the 3rd year or after the 2nd year type thing. But the problem is the projected trade value is a 2026 first-round pick and more. Key points, 3-time Pro Bowler with 40 sacks, under contract through 2027, turns 28 in December. Inquiries due to the Jets' 1-7 start and no clear quarterback plan could yield premium draft capital for quarterback pursuit in 2026. Basically, in a nutshell, the Jets could potentially use him to trade for draft capital so they could go find their franchise quarterback that they could then ruin like they always do. Potential suitors are the Detroit Lions and the Pittsburgh Steelers. All right. When you look at the grades, 67, 81, 64, 90, 90, 68, and 79, still playing a good, high caliber football. This one grabs my attention just because, to me, that's the only piece that's really missing in our defense, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You guys know I don't see cornerbacks as valuable as everyone else. It's a perfect example. We got one of the cheapest cornerback rooms in the league. Without Nate Hobbs, it probably would be the cheapest cornerback in the room, okay? With that being said, look how good our pass defense is. We don't have a stud in his prime Jalen Ramsey. We don't have in his prime Jair Alexander. Isn't it funny, Tim, when we had Jair Alexander, he's a great player, but our pass defense was never as good as it is right now. Why is that? Because we put all of our money and our resources into the defensive line. You spent a first-round pick on Devontae Wyatt. You traded multiple first-round picks for Micah Parsons. And, of course, Rashawn Gary was a first-round pick. So, again, that's why I never see cornerbacks as a tier 1 or not even a tier 2 position of importance. Is it important to have good corners? Absolutely. If you can have them, great. But you never prioritize the cornerback position over a 3-tech or an edge defender. That's just silly. And even a mock backer and a post safety, in my opinion. I would much rather put the money in a post safety who's patrolling center field rather than a cornerback who essentially has an extra defender, i.e. the sideline, helping him cover. If that makes sense. So.
Explains why we got Xavier McKinney in the house, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's where you go. And, you look at Quinnen Williams. I mean, he's 3rd overall pick, right? I mean, this guy was, the real deal. And if you're talking about getting better in the trenches, I'm always going to agree with that. Problem is, though, like you said, again, we don't have a first-round pick to give up. I'm not sure how many 2nd or 3rd rounds it would take to get him here. But I do think a guy like this would help us for sure. I'd rather go, a 1 or a 3 or a 0 tech than, an edge guy at this point for our defense, even with the injuries that we're dealing with LVN on the line right now, as far as edge. I feel good about our edge group. But I would like to see some help in the middle there on the D line.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Up next, final on the list, Brian Thomas Jr., wide receiver from the Jacksonville Jaguars. Conditional 2026 second-round pick and a defensive player is the projected trade value. Key points, 23-year-old Pro Bowl caliber rookie in 2024. He had 1,282 yards, 10 touchdowns. Obviously, solid performance there. But underperformed in 2025, only 365 yards, 1 touchdown through 7 games. Coach denies plans, but Jaguars listening to offers, value in youth, and proven upside. The potential suitors are the Buffalo Bills and the Pittsburgh Steelers. I would like to see him with Aaron Rodgers up in Pittsburgh opposite DK. That would be really exciting. But once again, no room in our wide receiver room, in my opinion. We're not looking for a guy that we're going to go out and potentially overpay, and I'm sure he's just about due for a contract. Actually, he was a rookie last year, so you'd have 2 more years on his deal. Last year as a rookie, 82. This year he's graded down to 59. So and Leon Cohen is now down there in Jacksonville, and he runs a Shanahan/McVay style offense. So that kind of shows you there's no reason to have that true number 1 guy that you're just going to try to force the ball to all the time, right? If I were the Jaguars, this is a guy I would be looking to trade for sure. So
yeah, for sure. And we're not interested. You lost me at wide receiver, right?
Right, exactly. Exactly. Let's go to the super chat real quick. Brambo, thank you so much, buddy. Tim, it may be us hitting the mute button that's pulling that down too. Not 100% sure, but
Brambo, come on, StreamYard, step your game up. What's going on?
They said, here's all these new features you didn't ask for, and everything else is broke. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. Brambo with the super chat. Any other knockoff brand Quinnen Williams available? That's a great question, right?
That sounds like a Jacob question. Hey, we got any of them bargain bin Quinnen Williams out there?
Exactly. Yeah. Quinnen Williams, man, I view him as a top 5 defensive tackle, Brambo. Maybe I'm a little higher on him than most, but that's kind of how I see him. I don't think there's many players that you go, oh yeah, there's another Quentin Williams. Like you said, a knockoff brand Quentin Williams. And honestly, this is going to sound like an insult, but I don't mean it this way. We got to knock off Quentin Williams at home, and that's Kobe Wooden, who I think is playing really good football right now, right? And he's really cheap. So,
the general baby.
The thought of going and getting somebody at or slightly above Kobe Wooden's level, and kind of preventing his progress, I don't like the idea of that. And I think he's played a great nose tackle, and it's obvious in passing situations this year we're going to more of that cheetah package with 3 pass rushers, right? So obviously you put Micah at Joker 1 from time to time. So you essentially would be trading for a player of lesser talent than Quentin Williams, and he's going to be sitting on the bench for some of those crucial downs on third downs, right? Quentin Williams, the whole point of getting somebody like that would be, all right, him and Devontae Wyatt on the field together, and then maybe you got to change your scheme up a little bit and get away from the Joker look, and not the Joker look, but the cheetah package. And I don't think that Hafley wants to do that for sure. So thank you for that super chat, Rambo. Appreciate you, buddy. The only other thing here with the trade rumors, I want to hit this real quick. Our buddy Easton Butler tweeted this back out. We covered this earlier in the week, or maybe it was late last week. The Packers have continued to make calls at the cornerback position, calling Cleveland this week about Denzel Ward, per source. They have also continued to have conversations with the Saints and Bengals about Avonte Taylor and Cam Taylor-Britt. He did go on to say, once again, in all caps, he actually replied with a quote tweet of himself where he said on October 21st, calling a team, in all caps, calling a team doesn't mean they're in deep conversations. That'll be done soon. Literally could be asking about availability, price point, or actual trades to develop. So Denzel Ward is one that I feel like, Tim, a lot of fans kind of get excited about when you talk about him. If I remember correctly, I wasn't as high on him, or maybe that was Newsome. I think that was Newsome I was thinking about. What do you think about adding someone like Denzel Ward as I get ready to give you the grades here? Does that kind of grab your attention a little bit? Because that might be a guy that could play on the boundary.
Yeah.
As we let me see. Let me pull up his premium stats real quick. Give me just a second. So yeah, he's definitely an outside corner. All right. His grades in Cleveland, 78, 69, 70, 76, 56, 69, 68, and 50. And he is officially 28 years old. He'll be 29 by the end of the year. So not like a dominant corner. I think that would be a good value piece. If you could get him for like a 6th-round pick or something, I would be okay with that. That would sound just fine to me.
Me too. He's kind of on that short list of a couple of corners. Cameron Taylor-Britt was another one. Obviously in Cincy, but Denzel Ward does kind of pique your interest. And big shout out to Easton Butler for, breaking this kind of stuff. And then, keeping us emotional fans in check by saying, hey, I'm just reporting facts. I'm aware of phone calls and conversations. It doesn't mean that, a deal is drafted up or anything is, actually going to come to fruition anytime soon. It just means that they're making calls. But Denzel Ward is certainly someone that makes you scratch your head a little bit, and maybe he could help you in the secondary. Especially when we're talking about the competition that is clearly open right now when it comes to boundary corner. You and I both are probably in lockstep when it comes to CV. We feel good about him on the outside. Keyshawn Nixon, I feel like he's had a few games where he might have missed 1 or 2 or struggled a little bit, but he's also going to give you games where he plays like a freaking all-pro on that boundary. So, if you want to add a little bit more, I could see maybe making a move on a guy like Denzel Ward. But again, what is the market? What are we giving up to bring him into the fold? I'm not saying auction off the franchise, but if you can get a deal done and maybe bring him in, maybe you move Bo back to, full-time return duties, special teams, and, maybe the wide receiver room, and you beef up your cornerback room with a Denzel Ward or a Cam Taylor-Britt or somebody, maybe. But again, not 2nd, 3rd round picks and multiple players, anything like that. I wouldn't go crazy.
Right. So we'll keep our eye on that. And I know I seen Turt McGirt in the chat said, what's his price? I haven't seen anything labeled there, right? Obviously, he wasn't on that top 10 list. And just so everybody knows, if someone sees that Bleacher Report article and they think that's BS, they've actually, in the article, if you go read it, they've got sources of, I've confirmed these teams are reaching out about this player. So these are guys that are actually being sought after or shopped. There is some truth there. But with that being said, we have no value though, Turt, on this particular potential trade, I should say, here in Denzel Ward. So if you guys are watching this video back later, let us know in the comments. What do you think about that top 10 list? What do you think about Denzel Ward or DJ Turner or Britt, any of those guys? Does that sound like players you would be interested in trading for the Packers? Also, hit that subscribe button and click the bell icon so you're notified when we go live here in the future. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us. All right, Tim, let's move it along, man. Let's talk about a couple players on this Packers roster that's absolutely dominant. Did you just put the skeleton up, Tim?
You know I did.
Okay, let's see what happens when I throw this back on the screen, because it seems to be when we try to do anything else other than share the screen, it drops down. Let's see what happens. But I like the skeleton. I like how he's got that hip kicked out there, too, like he's at the club. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like playing tackle or something, get that kick step going.
Look, to me, it looked like Jacob over at the club, the other club.
On a Friday or Saturday night, for sure.
That's right. Carson Caldwell, our good buddy over on X at Caldwell Corner _ said, your NFC Offensive Player of the Week and NFC Defensive Player of the Month. Obviously, it's an image for those of you listening on the pod of Jordan Love and Micah Parsons, toe on the line there for the national anthem against the Steelers. I believe that was in the all-white unis. Listen, man, you talk about two cornerstones for a great championship run here. My God, man. Jordan Love playing quarterback as good as anybody in the league right now. Micah Parsons dominating in the pressure statistics as well as the PFF grades. And for anyone who said that it wasn't worth it in the trade, or anyone who said, well, he's not hitting home with the sacks, you're talking about a guy that wins NFC Defensive Player of the Month. You're talking about a consistent run over the last 4 games. This is exciting stuff with Jordan Love and obviously Micah Parsons, man. Just absolutely awesome. I also like what our buddy Hog NFL put here, Tim, on Micah Parsons when he just tweeted out and put Micah Parsons is awarded with the NFC Player of the Month of October. # thank you, Jerry. So, man, look at the stats, too. 9 tackles, 5 for a loss, 4 sacks in the month of October, I guess that was. So, exciting stuff, man. Micah Parsons, Jordan Love. We'll get to Jordan Love a little bit more here in a second. Let's just kind of wrap up this Micah Parsons segment here, man. Listen, what the attention he's drawn away from the rest of the defense, that's exciting and everything. But what I like the most is how Jeff Hafley wasted no time to go, you know what? We need to get him in a more advantageous spot on the defensive line, and we started to unveil that Joker 1 look. And it's crazy too, because we mentioned this in the as soon as we traded for Micah, we were already talking about Joker looks, and somebody asked in the chat, what does Joker mean? That's the first time I've ever explained Joker on the program. And then lo and behold, 3-4 weeks later, Tim, here's Micah Parsons playing Joker. It's pretty cool, man. Yeah,
and with a great level of success, right? We've seen this a couple weeks in a row where these looks are really working. And I think it's because of the dynamic edge rusher that he is. When you pull him off that edge and stick him behind a D tackle, man, and let him creep around, you don't know where he's coming from. We've seen him stick left, move right, go back left, and vice versa. It's really tough to defend off the edge, let alone in that Joker look. And I'm all for it, man. MP, baby. Let's go.
That's right. So Micah Parsons, again, your NFC Defensive Player of the Month for the month of October. Now,
can we put that Caldwell Corner photo back up there real quick?
I already exited out, Tim.
I just liked how that looked on the sidelines with him and Jay Money, Pay attention, boys and girls. You got your beast on offense and defense. That was a good look right there for sure.
Absolutely, man. Love to see it. All right, let's move along to Jordan Love here, man. This is kind of an interesting table here. And listen, you guys do your own research. Look how the skeleton looks now, Tim. That's a little creepy, right?
I love it.
Alien eyes over there. Football Insights over on X said quarterbacks versus man and zone coverage sorted by overall EPA per play. So Jordan Love leading the league in EPA per play at the moment. Notice all the green on Jordan Love here as well, right? Your EPA against man, success rate, all that good stuff, touchdown percentage against man, sack percentage, the whole 9 yards. It's just wild the season he's having, man. When you look in some of the advanced analytics here, Jordan Love is off to a great start, even against zone, right? The only thing that's really down here is the touchdown percentage against zone defense. And I think the reason that that's down is you're leaning into the run a lot more when you see zone, right? You're starting to kind of run against zone when you get inside the red zone. Josh Jacobs obviously seems like he's scoring a touchdown well, really every game, just about, right? I mean, obviously he had that great run of so many consecutive games with a rushing touchdown. So Jordan Love, again, no matter what metric you look at, the only stat or metric I've seen where I go, he doesn't look elite with that is the touchdown passes. And again, to me, that doesn't matter. Sometimes you can have a quarterback that's playing fairly bad and have a lot of touchdown passes because they're just cashing in on the easy plays once they get inside the 5, right? With Jordan, it's kind of the opposite. He's doing the dirty work. He's doing the heavy lifting, and then we're just getting inside the 5 and pounding that thing in.
Absolutely. And like we saw with Pittsburgh, we saw, more man coverage. We saw that with Detroit. Obviously, that's what they do, right? They probably play the most man of anyone in the NFL. But Jordan's damn good against that man coverage, man. He will carve up some man coverage. And, I think the zone reads are getting better for him too. And like you said, the touchdown numbers, maybe not ideally where you want them to be, but that's a deceiving stat line. Like you said, anyone can get that little back shoulder fade, or, you get a little hitch on your own, the 5-yard line in the red zone, and it's a touchdown pass. Nobody's correlating that to your actual gameplay. So I'm not tripping on the tutters against zone coverage. I'm sure that'll balance out by the time we're done with this regular season. Bottom line, Jay Money's throwing dimes, and we love it.
Yeah, he's off to a great start for sure. Turt McGirt says Jacobs has a ton of rushing touchdowns. Absolutely, man. And again, I think that plays a big role into that statistic we were just talking about. For sure. All right, let's move it along. Another statistic here, or another graph, image, whatever you want to say here.
Hold on, too old for this. Remember, though, Jordan is the worst quarterback in the NFC North.
Isn't it hilarious, man?
According to the haters during the offseason. It's so true.
Ranking that, it's like, what have you guys seen to think he's going to be so bad? Like, I love the offseason. It's literally, I call it, people call it offseason. I call it bookmark season. I'm just over there piling up the receipts, man. It feels like tax season. I'm just loading them up, boy, saving them for the regular season. We've been cashing in here lately on them too. If you guys are following me on Twitter, we've been having fun with that for sure. By the way, new drop there. You like that, don't you, Tim?
I love that. Big head Rome in the house. I love it.
Exactly. All right. Next tweet here came in from @MIBPJ2. All right. And here's what he said. Game-winning drive stats are dumb. Instead, let's ask which quarterbacks are the best at taking the lead or tying late in games, independent of game outcome. Posted before, but a few new quarterbacks, Jordan Love, Hurts, and Young, just hit the minimum threshold. Also, now accounts for, quote, almost no shot, end of quote, drives. Okay, so if we can kind of try to make a little sense of what this graphic is here, Tim. Running vertically on the left side, you've got clutch drive success percentage, okay, and it goes from 0 all the way up to 70%. And then across the bottom, you've got everybody kind of listed out, okay? You'll notice Jordan is third on this chart, okay? Only behind Patrick Mahomes with 57 and Josh Allen with 55. Then it looks like it's Jordan Love at 20 is what it's showing there, okay?
Yeah.
And
this is in the last 25 years. This is not currently. This is since the year 2000, correct?
Correct. So it's showing on the lower right, essentially running from left to right on the bottom, is how many drives they've done, right? And then it's showing kind of the percentage on the left, the clutch drive success percentage. So again, Jordan Love clutch drive success percentage is, I mean, somewhere around 58%. It looks like here, according to this chart, man. It's exciting because what did Rex Ryan say just the other day? Rex Ryan was harping on with the game's on the line. Yeah, when the game's on the line, you can't trust Jordan Love to win you the game. It's like, Bub, the analytics actually suggest otherwise. And this isn't something new. This has been going on for a while. I immediately think back to the first year he was starting when he led them on that go-ahead drive against the Saints where he hit that little, what was it, a slot fade to Jaden Reed who laid out with the diving catch. It's like that was the moment where I went, okay, Jordan's not perfect. At that time, he was far from perfect, right? But boy, oh boy, when you need a fourth quarter drive and the game's on the line, he just seems to be cool as a cucumber. Reminded me a lot of 12 in those situations for sure.
Absolutely. Speaking of 12, you see him and Big Ben there on that list, along with everyone's favorite Manning brother, Eli. Kind of, with the higher numbers there. But Jay Money, man, I mean, the proof is in the pudding. We've seen the development. We've been paying attention since he took over the helm after the Aaron Rodgers trade, and you got to feel good about him. I don't understand how anyone who actually watches, not even with regularity, you don't have to be a Packers fan. If you watch 20 to 30 minutes of game tape on Jordan Love, I mean, how do you not see it? We hit on another one, guys. Like, be mad if you want to. It's a fact.
As Drew D said in the chat, Love's a franchise quarterback for sure. It's so true, man. And everybody's pointing out Justin Fields at the very bottom of this list, obviously. With Justin Fields being at the bottom, keep in mind, I know people were mentioning, where's Caleb at? Where's Caleb Williams at, right? Well, Caleb Williams, I don't think he's met that threshold yet, right? They just talked about in the actual tweet that Jordan just met the minimum threshold. That's why he's been added to the list. So I imagine that's why Caleb Williams is not on there. However, Justin Fields bringing up the rear there. And I do remember a time when Justin Fields was supposed to run the NFC North. Funny how things have changed, though. So yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Kurt McGurd in the chat says, explain Bryce Young's numbers. You see him on that list kind of towards the middle.
Let's see here. Bryce Young. So 22 is what it's showing at the bottom, right? And then in terms of his clutch percentage drive, looks like he's sitting at somewhere about 47, 48% in terms of clutch drive success percentage. So again, in case you guys are a little bit confused, let's just reread the tweet one more time. Game-winning drive stats are dumb. Instead, let's ask which quarterbacks are the best at taking the lead or tying late in games, independent of game outcome. So it's not did they lead a game-winning drive. It was did they do their part. And essentially, those game-winning drives get pushed to the side all the time because the defense may turn around and allow a touchdown or a field goal, lose the game, right? So they're kind of taking that out of the equation, if you will. So it also now accounts for almost no shot drives as well, is what it says. So, yeah. So there you go.
Worth noting, though, that he's hanging around in the middle of that list. We're playing him on Sunday. It's a great point, and I guess, in a few short years in this league, I mean, obviously Carolina's been playing from behind quite often. So it might explain he's had plenty of opportunities to do his part, but definitely something to keep an eye on going into this matchup since we know he'll be starting on Sunday.
Yeah, and again, I've been pretty vocal about Bryce Young. When he came out, he was my top quarterback. I loved everything about it, man. His post-snap read was excellent at Alabama. I mean, to me, he dominated at the college level. I just feel like he's been put in a bad spot since he's been in the league. He hasn't had a good team around him. So, if I remember correctly, Bryce Young beat the Packers just a couple years ago in Carolina. So now, again, that was a Joe Barry defense, and that was a defense that at safety you had Jonathan Owens and Rudy Ford, and now you've got Xavier McKinney and Evan Williams. You feel a lot better about your chances. Also, it was a defense that didn't have Edgerrin Cooper. It didn't have Micah Parsons. So I like our chances a lot better against Bryce Young this time around. But I'm with you though, Tim. You can't really rule it out, man. Bryce Young can get hot. Here's the other thing too. We were talking about how many sacks are given up a game, right? Was it like 2.4, I think it was, per game? And it gets you excited, right? Okay, well, maybe we'll see a lot of – keep in mind, they've been playing Andy Dalton a little bit. And also, Jeff Hafley is not the type of guy that goes, okay, it's easy to get sacks on him. Let's pin our ears and go get him. He's looking to win the game and win the drive, right? So don't be surprised if you see a lot of cage rush and touch spies in this game. And I'm telling you, if it's close and we don't sack him, they're going to come out of the woodwork going, what happened to the pass rush? Watch the freaking tape. You'll see the answer on the tape. If you see these guys not pinning their ears back and they're playing a controlled rush, their eyes are on the quarterback to make sure, okay, the coverage has it under control. Don't let him scramble out of the pocket, especially if you're playing a lot of match technique or cover one man, which we played quite a bit of this year, comparatively speaking, to last year. So.
For all those fans, what do you want to do? Do you want to rush 5 or 6 or 7 all day and watch him run all over the field on us? Like I'm good, man. Let's rush 4 and let's trust our defense and make them make mistakes for sure.
Definitely. So let us know what you think about Jordan Love and Micah Parsons in the comments. If you're watching this video back later, let us know how you feel about those guys. Is that the Brett Favre and Reggie White of this particular Packers team? Is that the cornerstone of this team? And what do you think about their chances of winning not just one Super Bowl, but multiple Super Bowls in this window that I said was a 3-year window? I'm hearing other people say it's truly a 5-year window. So I hope I'm wrong there. I definitely see it as a 3-year window. Let us know in the comments what you think about Jordan Love's performance and how Micah Parsons has gotten off to a hot start here for the Packers. Also, hit subscribe and click that bell icon so you're notified when we go live here in the future. All right, Tim, let's get a quick little injury update on the game coming up, obviously, against the Carolina Panthers here. And Bill Huber tweeted this out. Same as yesterday, Dontavion Wicks, Nick Nyman, and Lucas Van Ness are not practicing. Here's some Christian Watson. Christian Watson, he's good to go, Tim. I'm no longer worried about it. I was thinking 10 to 15 snaps. What did he get, 34 there in Pittsburgh? We're good to go. Scoot's good to go. We don't even have to worry about the injury anymore. Now let's just go out there and play ball. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's the bionic man now. If anything, that knee's stronger than ever, right? And clearly, he never stopped grinding. He was always ahead of schedule throughout the whole rehab process. Both with the team and on his own. During the offseason, we saw him spending time seeing specialists and really working through this to really honestly be in the position that he's in right now, which is I'm active, throw me in the lineup, let's go. Hopefully there's no snap count at all. Maybe we see 40 and 50 snaps out of Scoot this weekend. You never know. But I just love the fact that they were willing to not rush him back. And, now that we know he's back, throw him out there, man. Let's go ahead and get him some targets. We know he's our field stretcher. And, whether he's got a, 100, 200, two-tutter day or not, everyone else is going to be able to eat. He can take the top off of defense, and we got guys that can cook underneath all day. So there's no reason to, put kid gloves on when it comes to Christian Watson right now in this lineup. I say turn it loose.
Completely agree, man. Completely agree. All right, let's dive into the injury report. A little bit of bad news. Rob Domofsky had tweeted out Quay Walker was indeed added to the injury report. There were some rumors going around earlier today that he was going to be added, and that's what happened. So let's get us an update on the Packers injury report. In terms of things that changed, let's just start there. Brandon McManus was upgraded from limited to full participation. To me, it sounded like Matt LaFleur was a lot more confident in where he's at than where he was last week. So I think Brandon McManus is probably going to be good to go from here on out with the quad injury. I could be wrong there, so we'll keep an eye on that. Jordan Morgan was not listed, Tim. Now he's got an illness, so the bug finally caught him, and he was limited today. So we'll see. He may be a game-time decision by the time we get to Sunday's game. But hopefully, it being Wednesday, get an IV in that kid, right? Get him ready for Sunday because I feel like he's playing his best ball at guard, so definitely want him out there. Others that changed, Quay Walker with a calf injury. He did not participate today. So calf injuries seem to be kind of sneaking up and biting people. We'll keep an eye on that as we get into the Friday practice report and injury report because if Quay can't go, who's that linebacker that you're going to put in that nickel 4-2-5? Is it going to be your Sam/Will backer in Isaiah McDuffie, who's playing really good football out of the base formation right now? Or do you go to the more athletic Tyron Hopper, who had one snap, but boy, did he flash on that one snap last Sunday as well. I'm going to ask you that, Tim. If you had to make a decision right now, and let's say Quay Walker's out for this game on Sunday, worst case scenario, right? Which would you start in the nickel 4-2-5? Would it be Tyron Hopper or would it be Isaiah McDuffie?
Tyron Hopper. And that's not a knock on Zay. I feel like you throw Hopper out there in that situation, and if it doesn't go well, you can put McDuffie in there. He's a veteran player, has been playing pretty well in coverage as of late. But I would go with the youngster. I'd give Tyron Hopper a look in that situation. I feel like you're right. Like to your point, he's more athletic, and because of this linebacker room that we have, with Coop and Quay and McDuffie there, I mean, Tyron has not seen a lot of action. You go back to last year, even with Eric Wilson in the fold, it was hard for him to see the field. So if in fact Quay can't go on Sunday, yeah, I'd go with Hopper.
Okay.
That's me though. What do I think they'll do? It'll probably be Zay McDuffie.
Right. I can understand both arguments, to be honest with you. If I was making the decision, I think I would go with McDuffie over Hopper just because of how he's playing right now. However, I would make sure Hopper knows, hey, listen, your number could be called in this 4-2-5 at any moment, because maybe McDuffie is playing at such a high level because he's only playing in the base package. He's really keying in on his technique out of that base 4-3, right? So if you see him out there and he struggles in the nickel, that's a whole different ball game. That's a whole different dog, right, in that fight, rather than the nickel 4-2-5 is from the 4-3, whether you're playing an under or an over front with a jam. So we'll see how that goes. That was really strange. What was that noise, Tim? Did you hear that?
Yeah, did you hear that too?
Yeah, what was that?
I don't know.
Things get spooky around here, guys. I'm just telling you, man.
It's the ghost.
One day from, I mean, that was literally was that not a siren? What was that, a horn or something?
It sounded like like an ambulance just drove through our podcast.
Do we have anything, and we don't have any kind of sounds there too that they've added to the board? That was strange. That was really strange. So anyway, I apologize if that busted somebody's eardrums. So I would go Isaiah McDuffie to start with, but let Hopper know, hey, look, if he struggles, we're going to put you right in the 4-2-5 look, right? So I would go McDuffie over Hopper, but have a short leash. The other one that changed, Malik Willis with the ankle, not listed Wednesday, limited today. Kind of interesting, right? Because remind me again, I've already forgot. Does anyone know who our third string quarterback is now, right? Because we obviously moved on from Sean Clifford. You moved on from Elgersma. Who is the third quarterback on the roster? Let me know, guys. I know he's a practice squad guy that we signed recently. Was it Clay something? Am I thinking right? Or did we let him go too, Tim? Do you remember who it is by chance?
I don't. I'm still
what a good problem to have, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, wasn't it Elgersma? But you're right. I think we moved on from Air Canada.
Mm-hmm.
Good question. I mean, my quick answer, our emergency third string is Savion Williams.
Boy, that would be exciting, wouldn't it?
Right? Much like Randall Cobb was our emergency backup not too long ago, correct? Another Kentucky guy.
I don't know if I updated our depth chart or not. Let's see here. Nope, he's not on here, so we didn't update it once we did make that signing. Somebody will let us know in the chat here. Clayton Tune, that's who I was. Yeah, I knew it was a Clayton.
That's right.
So that's kind of a unique situation if all of a sudden Clayton Tune is your backup, right? United Bates, Michael Pratt. Listen, I was the president of the Michael Pratt fan club. I watched his college tape and was like, this dude's got good timing, good accuracy, quick release. I like this kid. He made out of camp, Tim. It was right at the end of camp, right? They shipped him out of town. I think he might be out of the league right now too. So, so keep an eye on that with Malik Willis, man, because again, if Jordan goes out there and he tweaks an ankle or something, and all of a sudden now you're down to your third string quarterback, boy, oh boy, that could get interesting quick against even a bad football team in the Carolina Panthers. So any given Sunday, man, for sure. Anything else you want to hit on the Packers side of the injury report here, Tim? Any other final thoughts on that?
Yeah, I just wish that these injury lists had, some more, specifics on there. I'm wondering, looking at Quay with the calf, like which leg is that? Is this the same, leg he was dealing with the ankle cleanup? He was rehabbing with, like same thing. Tay Wicks, he's had a calf injury off and on for seems like the last year or so. You never know. Yeah, Josh Jacobs, it's tough. But looking at Jordan Morgan with the illness and then being limited today is, that's a good look. At least he's not a DNP, right? And honestly, it's if you know anything about Jordan Morgan, this is his favorite time of year. He's a big horror movie fan, big Halloween fan, ready to make some mayhem out there on Sunday. So if he's physically feeling good, I don't care if he's sneezing or blowing boogers at the defensive line while he's out there. If he's ready to go, I think he's going to play. There you go. But definitely Quay is that's a concern for me, that calf popping up.
I wasn't overly concerned with Josh Jacobs, right? With his calf. I'm like, man, he's tougher than a $2 steak. He's going to be just fine, right? But then I heard somebody say the other day that there has been a direct correlation over the last year and a half in the NFL of guys with calf injuries popping their Achilles. And I was like, oh no, don't you dare even talk about that. Right. So after I heard that they're seeing this I don't know, the ties in which how many players have calf strains, calf pulls, partial calf tears, and then they go out and they play on it and they end up popping their Achilles, made me go, shut him down until that thing is completely healthy. I cannot fathom the thought of Josh Jacobs not being on this active roster for the foreseeable future. If God forbid that were to happen, man, that would be
I agree 100%, especially at home. You got 2 home games. Obviously we got a Carolina Panthers team coming in, throwback day, but yeah, if you got to sit them down, maybe you just sit them this week and it's, get ready for Philly on Monday Night Football. But I'd hate to be making a playoff push without Josh Jacobs back there. I agree. If there's any doubt in your mind, just give him a week off,
Mm-hmm. Deadfish puts in the chat here. This will probably drop it down. We'll pull it back up in a minute. He says December 24th, 2023, Packers 33, Panthers 30. Anders Carlson, 32-yard field goal, won it after a 4-minute drive. We had a 30-16 lead with less than 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter. So we won that game, Deadfish? I was thinking
we felt like we lost it, though.
That's probably why. Right? I was thinking we lost that game. Thank you for that information, Deadfish. Appreciate it, buddy. Thank you so much. All right. Tim, back to the injury report, Panthers side, okay? What changed? Brady Christensen, offensive lineman, had an Achilles. He did not participate. He was officially placed on the injured reserve, so he's pretty much done now. And let's see who else we got here. Andy Dalton did not participate with the right thumb, but he is limited, was limited today, so that changed. Xavier Legette has got an illness as well, so he wasn't listed Wednesday. He did not participate today. Damian Lewis, guard with an oblique, was full participation Wednesday and downgraded to limited today. Taylor Moton with the knee, he's a tackle, did not participate Wednesday. He was limited today. Nick Scott, safety with the groin, did not participate. Then he was limited today. So you got several guys that are upgraded here. And then Trayvon Wallace, linebacker with the shoulder, did not participate Wednesday. He was limited today. So it seems like some of those offensive linemen that we just assumed were going to be out, all of a sudden, they may end up playing in this game. So interesting there. We'll keep our ear to the streets on that. So
they're going to need all hands on deck to deal with this defensive front that we got in Lambeau, for sure. Looking at Princely Umanamilan, second day in a row, DNP, on the defensive side of the ball. That was somebody that we had relatively not super high draft grade on, but somebody that we had on our board as a young player, rookie player. Him not being in the fold, makes me wonder once we get into the breakdown, the PFF matchup and really look at these things, how they're going to look in the middle and the outside, their edge and their middle linebackers, without him in the fold. Of course, he could be a full participant tomorrow for all we know.
Yeah, definitely. So there you go. There is the injury report for the Panthers and Packers game at Lambeau Field on Sunday. Let's move it along now back to the PFF preview. And Tim, the line continues to move here. Obviously, we're talking about all the money that's on the Packers. 58% of the money is on Green Bay to cover the spread. Guys, last time we talked about this, the spread was 13 points. They have now moved it to 13.5. Why did they do that? Because the majority of the money stays on the Packers. They're trying to entice people to bet against that, right? Take the plus 13.5. They just teased it a little bit further, a half a point. So the Packers are now officially 13.5 point favorites. And as far as the money line, 87% of the cash is still on the Packers to win. 96% of the tickets are on the Packers to win outright as well. Let's get into the more important part here, Tim. Let's talk about the lineup matchup. And let's start with our offense, all right, in 11 personnel against their nickel defense. All right. When you look at our grades, let's start with the offensive line from left to right. Rasheed Walker, 63. Aaron Banks, 55. Elton Jenkins, 61. Jordan Morgan, 52. Zach Tom, an elite, 6th highest graded tackle in the league with an 80.9. Going up against their front four in their nickel defense, Tim, from right to left from the defense's perspective, but lining up from our left to right on offense, you got Wanham, if I'm saying that right, 53.2. Opposite of him is Nick Scorton. We talked a lot about him, right? Rookie linebacker, edge rusher. He was drafted in the second round with the 51st overall selection. So he's grading out a 66.2 as a rookie, obviously. Solid grade for a rookie. I don't think he's a Tuesday player by no stretch of the imagination, though, Tim. So you got Wharton on the inside, 50.4 defensive tackle. And then this looks like, according to PFF, might be a Tuesday player. Derek Brown, 89.4 on the year. When you look at his career grades, 61, 64, 84, 90, drops back to a 47, but minimal snaps, probably got injured. Right back up around the 90 mark at an 89.2. He's 6'5", 320 pounds, former 7th overall selection in the 2020 draft. This is definitely a Tuesday player, Tim. This is a guy you got to kind of account for. So it's nice. This week, though, you don't have a TJ Watt to have to worry about, but let's make sure that we're getting extra help inside on Derrick Brown.
I agree wholeheartedly. And let's pound that rock in the run game to the left side. Maybe we run away from that. But certainly the brightest spot on that D line looks like Derrick Brown. You got to account for that for sure.
Yeah. And I love the opportunity for Elton Jenkins, and whether it's Aaron Banks or our boy Jordan Morgan, to be able to help double team on him right now. What that means, though, is you're probably going to be forcing single blocks with Zach Tom and Nick Scorton. I'm sure they move Scorton around a little bit, so I think Tom can handle that. I also feel confident that Rasheed Walker can handle Scorton as well, right? So with that being said, our front against their front, offense against their defense, does not worry me at all, Tim. It doesn't. So how do you feel about that with our offensive line against their front four, man?
Oh, yeah, that's why I'm saying, like, we should be able to run the ball. We should be able to establish a run game. I mean, just going off of this alone, maybe we run a little duo again, but I'd like to see, those guys earn it. Let's run between the tackles. Let's pound the rock. You can always change that if it doesn't work. But I would not be concerned about, attacking these guys with the run game. Really, their corners look like their best, in the nickel. It looks like their best foot forward is really their corners. So it might be one of those games to run to set up the pass.
Yeah. And I hope we press into the run. I think this is a unique opportunity where you're going up against one of the worst run defenses in the league, that you can get yourself a little momentum, get your offensive line and your running back room a little confidence in the run game, right? Don't try to get too crazy. However, that being said, if they say, you know what, we're going to load the box and make them throw, load that thing up, man. Let it fly, right? So Josh Jacobs is the 7th highest graded running back in the league right now, to 77.9. Of course, Jordan Love, 81.5, according to PFF, the 8th highest graded quarterback in the National Football League at the moment. Let's talk about – so we talked about Josh Jacobs, 77.9. How does he pair up in terms of against their linebacking core, right? So they got Trayvon Wallace, 57.9, but keep in mind he was on the injury report, right? Trayvon Wallace, as I remind you guys, shoulder injury, did not participate yesterday. He was limited today, so he's trending towards playing, so you'll probably see Trayvon Wallace out there. And then next to him is Christian Roseboom, if I'm saying that right. Looks like he may have been undrafted out of the South Dakota State Jackrabbits. He came into the league in 2020. His PFF grades throughout his career: 63, 77, 47, 53, 43. Tim, this feels a lot like the Steelers game, man. Attack the linebacking core. And you could do it with Josh Jacobs, and also our boy Tucker Kraft, the 5th highest graded tight end in the league right now, with a receiving grade of 83.0. I think he was in the top 3, maybe top 2 in receiving grade amongst tight ends, but he's just continues to get better. This could be another Tucker Kraft game along with our boy Josh Jacobs, depending on if they load the box. If they load the box, it's going to be a big Tucker Kraft game. If they play with a normal box, Josh Jacobs is going to have his breakout game if the calf injury is good to go.
Yeah. Chip and leak and post routes all day for Tuck Norris, baby. Let's go. Let's get it. That's kind of what I was talking about with Omana Milan being out. They got Roseboom in the mix there at linebacker.
Mm-hmm. And as you pointed out, their cornerback room probably looks the most stable at first glance, right? You got Joe Horn Jr. at 64 on one side. You got Jackson on the other to 63.9. In the slot, they got Smith weighted to 61.7. So that looks pretty clean. Now, listen, our receivers, Romeo Dobbs, 69.7. Matthew Golden, 67.4. Christian Watson, only one game, 34 snaps, but a 79.6. Let's freaking go. Their safety room, you got Scott at free safety, 60.4, and Morig, if I'm saying that right, strong safety, 61.3. This does feel like one of those games. We're going to go, you know what? Pick your poison. If you want to stop the run, we're going to throw the ball on you. If you want to stop the pass, we're going to run it down your throat. That's what this really looks like to me, Tim, unless I'm overlooking something.
No, I'm with you. Lockstep, 100%. We're not intimidated by the secondary, but clearly looking at the tape and looking at the PFF numbers, that's their strong suit on defense. Obviously they've got, we talked about Brown up there on the D line, but other than that, it's really their secondary. So I think you're right. We're going to take what we can get. If we can establish that run and it's working, that's one of those things. It's like, if the run game is working, I hope we don't get away from it and try to force the issue too much down the field. If we can find success on the ground, let's stay there and put points on the board. But I think either way you slice it, our offense should look pretty good against this defense.
Completely agree, man. Completely agree. All right, let's move over to our defense and how they match up against the Carolina Panthers offense. And again, I'll get you all of the tendencies, what formations they like to run, what personnel, and how that matches up against the Packers. We'll get all that put together for you guys and gals in the game plan over the next 24 to 48 hours. And that'll be available on Patreon, patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access. All right. So, Tim, their 11 personnel against thank you for putting that up there, buddy, our nickel 4-2-5 look. Okay. So here's how it shakes out. Their offensive line, Tim, looks pretty darn good.
Yeah.
Like, this is according to PFF. However, they have been running the ball well. I think they were 10th in rushing, right, in terms of yards per carry. So solid running game. But I think they were giving up something like 2.4 sacks per game, I think it was. I may be getting the sacks mixed up with the turnover differential as well. So you guys go check that yourself. But from left to right, man, Ekwonu, 75.6. He's the 17th highest graded tackle in the game. You got Lewis at left guard, 75.9, the seventh highest graded guard in the game. You got Corbett at center at a 68. He's the 11th highest graded center. Curran, I think is how you say it, at right guard at 82.1, but minimal snaps. So he's made the most out of his opportunities so far. And then, of course, Moton at a 73.4. He's the 22nd highest graded tackle there at right tackle. So, Tim, their offensive line looks like the strength of their offense, that alongside Ted McMillan, which we'll talk about here in a second. When you look at how they match up against the Packers, last week we talked about how we should be able to take advantage of the Steelers' tackle position, right? This week, you might not be able to do that as easy, right? So this kind of feels like a cage rush game. Even though they're giving up some sacks, I don't think it's going to be a game where you're going to come away with a lot of sacks. I could be wrong. Cage rush, keep Bryce Young in the pocket and just compress that pocket in on him, man. Maybe even run a touch spy along the way as well. Don't let him beat you with his legs. And obviously on the outside, you got to account for McMillan.
Yeah, this is one of those games where you trust your front four, right? And if you're getting blocked, take that tackle or that guard with you right to the quarterback. Maintain your edge. Don't let Bryce Young beat you with his legs or, roll out and extend plays and hit you with those little dink and dunk moves. I agree. I don't think this is one where you're going to, call the dogs and be dialing up blitzes all the time. You're going to pick your spots. I'm sure Hafley's got, a couple blitz packages in mind for this game. But I think you trust yourself and, rush for and try to keep him in the pocket. If Bryce Young is moving around, that's when I'm a little bit concerned as far as our defense goes. But ultimately, and again, same thing. O-line looks pretty good for them. Are they world beaters? Probably not. Right. If we play fundamentally sound, we should get the dub. But I don't want to see pinning our ears back, blitzing all the time. I think that's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah. And again, they've got a solid offensive line, but we got one of the best defensive lines in football, right? You got Micah Parsons, 92.5. He's the highest graded edge defender, according to PFF. Rashawn Gary, 74.6. He's top 5 in the league in sacks right now. Devontae Wyatt playing great football coming back from that injury. 73.3 now is where Wyatt's at, Tim. This is really exciting, man. So Wyatt, 69, 59, 66, 73. He has taken that year 4 jump. Obviously, they already hit him with the 5th-year option, so you didn't got to worry about getting the contract done right now. He's on a prove-it deal, essentially. Pass rush grade of 75.9. He's still a less than stellar run defender, but again, that's not what you got him for. It's not what you want your 3-tech to really be. If he can do it, great. That's a positive. But I do feel like Edgerrin Cooper and Quay Walker are going to help protect him on the backside in terms of the run and let him kind of eat there in the middle at 3-tech. So Devontae Wyatt, I think this kind of feels like Devontae Wyatt might have a big game. This might be a game where you get a sack and a half from Devontae Wyatt in the middle if the tackles do handle Parsons and Gary fairly well. Not that they will, but just kind of theoretically speaking there. Bryce Young, 67.3 is the 25th highest rated quarterback in the league. That's a solid number in my opinion, especially coming back from injuries and things like that. And Chuba Hubbard, listen, I know some people think really highly of him. I think he's a solid back. I think the offensive line has a lot to do with his success this year. But, man, he's been consistent as anyone in the league since he's come in, Tim. 64, 76, 77, 75, 67. solid running back there. 6'1", 210, a little bit bigger there out of Oklahoma State, former 4th-round selection. He's got a running grade of 71.1, and like I said, an overall offensive grade of 67.8. So I think they'll be trying to attack us with a balanced attack. And, of course, it's just going to come down to how we handle the run first and foremost. This is, to me, this game plan, Tim, should be about a cage rush, stay in gap sound, and make them beat you through the air. Okay, that's what this should be. That doesn't mean you load the box, but it means you play keyed in on the run with your front six there, especially in the nickel 4-2-5. And what that means, guys, is don't just pin your ears back and go on a 4-man rush. Be very, very gap aware, and let's stop the run first and foremost. Let's get them in that 3rd and long, that 3rd and 8, that 3rd and 7, as opposed to that 3rd and 3 by stopping the run on early downs. And with Edgerrin Cooper, 74.7, Quay at a 60.5, I feel really confident we can do that too.
I agree. Reduce the likelihood of them trying to run play action, because that's, if they get a run game going even a little bit, they're gonna try and play action boot off of that, get Young in space, throwing the ball off of their run game. So if, to your point, if we're stout against the run and maintaining our gap integrity and not getting gashed, you kind of take that away from an offense, or at least from a defense's perspective. If you're not worried about them running, you're definitely not worried about a play action fake because you're not biting on the run. So I think that's true. You gotta stay fundamentally sound. You got to stay gap sound against this team, because I would anticipate Carolina trying to be as balanced as possible with their offense. And if you can take away, any kind of rushing game or rushing threat from them, it's going to make our job a lot easier on defense.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So again, if you're keying in on the run, that's going to make your linebackers a little bit more vulnerable against play action, right? You understand, guys, you can't key in on the run and play the pass at the same time. What that means is when they show a look, whether it's a 22 fake, a 26 fake, whatever it is, if they're going to fake an outside zone run or they're going to fake a duo look in the middle, if they go that route, your linebackers need to key on the run first and foremost. What's going to happen is they're going to get pulled up, right? They're going to get kind of pulled into that play action and can make them vulnerable on the backside. What gives me hope, though, is this safety tandem and Xavier McKinney, right? Xavier McKinney and Evan Williams. McKinney is now up to a 70.2 on the year. His run defense grade 78.2, been dominant in the run game. Coverage grade is 67.1. We know he's way better than that grade suggests. You're talking about an all-pro safety. Evan Williams, 75.9. Tim, I think we're just fine letting the front six key in on the run and let our safeties kind of carry the load on the backside. Now, here's I don't want to say an issue, but the thing you want to be aware of. Tet McMillan, as we said in the draft process, we were very high on him. When many other people started to beat him down and say he doesn't care about football, he doesn't watch tape, blah, 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 blah. We know that was all intel from the inside leaking out, trying to get him to fall on board so their team could take him. He's a dog, man, 78.5. He's the 15th highest graded receiver in the league, standing at 6'5", 212. He was selected 8th overall. This is a Tuesday player, Tim. I know he's young, but that's a Tuesday player. What did we do against DK last week? We've seen several snaps, several reps where we would play cover 6 match. And the way they were working it, guys, it was almost like a two-man under on half the field. And what I mean by that is, rather than put the cover 4 side over top of DK Metcalf, we had the 2 side, the half side, right? The cover 2 side, and they had the corner underneath matching and playing trail technique, which is a 2-man under technique. That was really, really interesting to me. I don't know if the exact call was, hey, you guys play zone match on this side, and I want this side with DK to play 2-man under. I guess it's possible. That seems like more of a lock call than anything. But I'm not saying you should go that route with McMillan, but you should put a similar amount of focus on bracket covering McMillan. And if they can beat you with Coker or Leggett at a 55.4, listen, I can deal with that. I can handle that. Right. What I can't handle is us going, Tet McMillan's a rookie. He's not that good. And he ends up cutting you apart. Does that make sense?
100%. But I'll also say, you brought up DK. I love how CV played against Metcalf last week. And if you're a Carrington Valentine supporter, like a lot of us are on this pod, you're looking forward to this matchup on Sunday for sure. And that's not to say that obviously you're not going to have help over the top. You can't write off Tet McMillan as a rookie, to your point, Clay. That's so true. But I feel like this is an opportunity for CV to really make his mark. We know there's a competition in that quarterback room. You can talk to our head coach. He'll tell you that right now. This is a chance for CV to step up and have himself a hell of a game against a top tier wide receiver in the league. So I'm looking forward to it. But to your point, you're right. You have to take a similar approach. You don't want to put anybody, in a position where they're going to fail or be on an island against a top tier receiver. But, that being said, I think CV can handle it. I think he's up for the task for sure.
Yeah, I do too, man. And again, I don't think they're going to have him following Ted McMillan. I know that's not what you're saying either, Tim. He's going to play right corner, right, on the left side of from the offense's perspective, right?
Yep.
But if you get those two matched up, man, Carrington's as good as I'm telling you, man. He needs to start, and it sounds like he's going to start. If you kind of read between the lines with the interviews that happened with Nate Hobbs in the locker room, I want to say something about Nate Hobbs. A class freaking act on how he handled that this week. Tim, I'm kind of paraphrasing. I'm sure you heard the same thing. He was essentially saying, I'll do whatever the team needs to do.
Yep.
Like, if it means me being on the bench and coming in reserve, I'll do that. And I just think that's absolutely awesome. It says a lot about the person that Nate Hobbs is, knowing that he struggled early on, whether it is truly the injury that's got him kind of behind schedule, or if it's just something that maybe he's not as good as we thought he was, he's handling it the right way. And I think it is time for Carrington Valentine to have an opportunity to be our number one cornerback. I think now is the time for that.
Very well said, man. These guys are playing for each other. Everybody, all 53 on the practice squad, man. Everyone's playing for each other. Nobody's hating on each other. Nobody's crying about, oh, he's starting, I'm not starting. We're trying to bring Lombardi home, man. This team is trying to win a title, and you need attitudes like that across the board from everybody on this squad. So, yeah, regardless of what's going on with Nate Hobbs, play on the field, it could be too, he's still a new guy. He's coming into his own as a Green Bay Packer and finding his way, finding his role on this team. I can tell you when it comes to leadership and attitude, Nate Hobbs is that dude. That is a guy you want in your locker room. And it's a telltale sign when, he made the comments that he made today. I believe that was a Matt Schneidman article, talking about basically Hobbs, whole reaction to this. A lot of times, especially with corners, right? Corners and receivers, that's an ego-driven position in this league.
Oh, yeah.
Let's be real. So to see, Nate Hobbs kind of, remain humble and focused on what's really important, which is, helping your team win games. I love that attitude, man. If I'm starting, I'm going to give it 100%. If I'm coming off the bench, I'm going to give it 100%. And we're going to pick each other up and win a ship this year. I love it.
And if he is coming off the bench, I wouldn't be surprised to see him a little bit more on special teams. And I think he would dominate as a gunner on special teams.
Oh, my gosh.
He's that type of guy, so.
Absolutely.
Really, really excited to see how that all shakes out. And someone had said in the chat, Drew D said, if Hobbs is going to play, then it should be over Nixon probably. I agree with that, right? If
That's
you're going to give him a rotate,
yeah.
let CV stay out there unless he needs a breather, right? If he needs a breather, cool, pull him out, throw Hobbs in. But the problem with Nixon, and listen, I'm just going to say it, and I could be completely wrong. I kind of feel like if you pulled Nixon, going to be a little bit of an issue. He's that type of player. He's emotional. He's high strung. We love that about him too. When he's on, boy, he's fiery, right? But that's something you got to kind of. I guess you better be 100% sure that Nate Hobbs is going to play better than Nixon if you're going to pull Nixon off the field, because I know Nixon has had a rough go, right? He's had a rough couple of weeks, but it was just 3 weeks ago, Tim. He was leading the league in pass breakups.
Yeah.
Right? So, is he in a slump? Is this actually who Nixon is? And it was kind of a fluke that he was playing that well before. Time will tell. But I do think that's a situation you got to massage a little bit. You can't just go all right, get to the bench. It's Hobbs' turn.
Yeah.
I don't think Nixon is going to respond as well as Hobbs did, if that makes sense. I could be wrong, though. Could be wrong.
No, I think that lends more validity to what they were talking about. That may be why that there's this open competition, right? That was made known. It's not just between, CV and Nate Hobbs. It's, Keyshawn's thrown into that mix as well. Basically, that's kind of the staff saying without saying that, hey, we're looking for the best corners, on the field, period, regardless of who you are or what your contract is. Mm-hmm. We want to put our best foot forward. I think I would agree with that. But, to your point about, maybe Hobbs responds more to being, quote unquote, benched or removed from his starting duties. he might respond a little more than Keyshawn would in a positive way. But I will tell you this, I wouldn't put it past a guy like Keyshawn Nixon to, maybe get moved, down a tier on the depth chart and come out and play like an all-pro again. Cause that's what we talked about earlier. You're either seeing him struggle on a few of these, or you're seeing him play like an all-pro. We want to find that balance, that consistency for sure.
Yeah. 2-0 for this says, I want a cornerback that offenses don't want to target. Nixon gets a lot of targets. It's a great point, 2 over this. He gets targeted a whole lot. You could tell teams aren't afraid to throw his way. You pick a couple passes off, that changes, but obviously they're not to that point yet. I think you're going to start seeing teams kind of stay away from Carrington Ballantyne a little bit. I guarantee you that the Panthers are watching the tape this week and going, hey, that number 24, he shut DK down pretty darn good. So maybe let's try to get Tet matched up on the right side against a Keyshawn Nixon. That's probably
watch K9 come out and play like an absolute monster.
Bro, pick a couple passes right off. Oh my God. Dude,
right away.
Absolutely awesome.
If that's one thing I've understood spending any time around that guy is that he's not going to back down from
he's going to respond.
Anything. Yeah. Yep. He's going to respond.
Definitely. All right. I love this, man. I love that they got Sorrell. I've already taken off the screen, but they had Sorrell lined up. I just noticed that nickel 4-2-5, they had him kind of playing in the middle next to Wyatt. So they're starting to pick up on that, the cheetah package a little bit. That's funny that they put him in there. So Sorrell must be leading extra defensive lineman snaps in the nickel 4-2-5, which we know we're calling it a nickel 3-3-5, a joker 3-3-5 is what we're calling it, right? So that's interesting that they picked up on that. But anyway, all right, I think that's it. If you guys are watching this video back later, let us know in the comments, what do you think about this matchup? How do you think the Packers match up against the Carolina Panthers? Is there maybe a strength or a weakness that we overlooked in our breakdown? Let us know in the comments, and also hit subscribe and click that bell icon so you're notified when we go live here in the future. Tim, you got anything else you want to add to this before we mention the good people with this charity we're involved with and we wrap up the show, man? Anything at all?
No, I think we covered a pretty good chunk of it going into this game. We can't afford to play down to this team. I know that's been a running theme in the fan base. We've talked about, playing down to your opponents sometimes, especially at home, it can happen. You talk about a game that, we should boat race this team. We should have this game. Don't play down to your opponent in this one. I think you gotta stay on your P's and Q's, and we got to go play Packer football. And dictate the game from our terms, not necessarily always taking what they give you. Let's impose our will out there. Obviously, you don't want to put a ton on film, right? You got the Eagles coming off a bye, coming to 12:65 for Monday Night Football after this, but I don't want to see a situation where the Packers are, playing down to their opponent, because any given Sunday, like you always say, Clay, any team's capable of beating anyone, and I would hate for us to crap the bed at home. So, yeah, like Soder is saying here, don't play down to the Panthers. Yeah, well said. Absolutely.
Completely agree, man. Completely agree. And again, to me, I don't care if you win by 1 point. I don't think that's playing down to your opponent. I understand what you're saying, Tim. It's like, let our foot off the throttle a little bit. Okay, we can beat these guys. No, you better go out there like you're playing the best team in the National Football League, because any given Sunday, they may be the best team in the National Football League. We know how that goes. Chuck Jaggers hit the nail on the head. Let's go 1-0 this week. Amen. Amen. And listen, then you reset and you go, okay, let's see how close we are to truly going on a championship run against the Eagles next week. We'll have plenty of time to talk about that. But, man, that's going to be a great test. You just got to get past the Panthers this week and make sure you don't overlook them. That's for sure. So,
amen.
All right.
That's how you want to go into that big primetime matchup, right? Coming off a win at home.
Yes, absolutely, man. All right, Tim, tell everybody about the good folks over here at Operation horseshill.org.
Yeah, absolutely. You got 48 hours left. We're going tomorrow. We're going to wrap up this partnership for the month that we've had all October long with Operation Horses Heal. They are bringing veteran program or life-changing programs to our veterans, horse-assisted programs to our veterans, as well as active duty service members and their families, giving them the space and environment for their own self-guided wellness journey. Each donation that you guys do between now and tomorrow evening is going to give you the opportunity to win an autographed Romeo Dobbs jersey. We're trying to raise enough funds to get them a truck and a trailer so they can bring the horses out directly to these veterans at some of these events. So make sure you donate. OperationHorsesHealed.org/how can I help. QR code is in the upper right-hand corner. You can, scan that as well. Otherwise, check out Clayton's social media. He's got a post up on X. You can click the link there directly. Really excited to partner up with a great group of people here helping those who help us, which is our veterans for sure.
Amen. And we'll be making our donation here on the final day as well. So really appreciate everybody who's already donated. And again, if you can't afford to donate, it's totally cool. Just help spread the word. Make sure people know that, hey, a good way to give back to our veterans that sacrifice so much is to donate to programs like this, right? Yep. OperationHorsesHealed.org. So appreciate their partnership with them, obviously, to get that a little more notoriety that which it deserves. So, all right, that's it, guys. We're out of here. We'll be back tomorrow. Let's see here. I'm trying to think of what the plan was tomorrow. I may have a birthday dinner. My brother-in-law, it's his birthday, so we may be going out to a family dinner tomorrow. I'll keep you guys in the loop. We'll definitely do a show tomorrow. It might be a little earlier, but I'll let you know too, Tim, as well. But definitely got some plans tomorrow evening, so we'll see if we can work that out. It may be Saturday too. I just got to get a little more information on it. So
sounds good.
All right, man. Everybody have a wonderful evening. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us tonight, making us a part of your evening. Also, I don't say this enough, but everybody who's listening on the podcast as well, we have not forgot about you. You're the lifeblood of what makes this thing go. It was the very first platform that we used before the YouTube channel. So just want to give a special shout out and thanks to everybody that's listening on the pod. Also, if you're watching this on YouTube and sometimes you go to podcast form as opposed to YouTube and you don't have YouTube Premium where you can listen in the background, scan the QR code in the upper right. That'll send you to PackerNet Podcast, where you can find this podcast, as well as Ryan Slip's flagship PackerNet Podcast and PackerNet After Dark, where you can call in, leave a voicemail, and he'll play your voicemail on the show and answer questions, respond to your comments, things like that. So with that being said, we're out of here. Everybody have a wonderful evening. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world, and go Pack.
Here we go.
Bye, guys.